The medical bay of the GSV Unbroken Meridian had seen many things in its 17 years of deep space service. It had seen Thalvary pilots with their delicate hollow bones snapped like dry reeds after minor pressure changes. It had seen Sereni engineers weeping from pain caused by nothing more than a bruised manipulator limb. It had seen Corel navigators rendered unconscious by what their own species classified as a minor laceration. Dr. Kale Veyron had treated all of them. He was good at his job, methodical, precise, compassionate in the clipped, professional way that his species, the Myra T, expressed such things. His 4 long fingers moved with practiced efficiency across diagnostic panels. His large amber eyes, built for dim bioluminescent environments, catalogued symptoms with the cold accuracy of a machine. He thought he had seen everything. Then they brought in the human. The emergency alert had come through at 0347 ship time. A hull breach in Section 9 during a debris field pass. 2 crew members caught outside the safe zone. 1 Thalvary engineer, Specialist Leora, had been retrieved first, her pressure suit cracked, 3 ribs fractured, her feather-light frame shaking in full neurogenic shock. The second crew member was Mara Ellison, humanity's contribution to the Unbroken Meridian's crew complement. Her official designation was Structural Integrity Officer, but the crew had taken to calling her the Fixer because she had a habit of walking into catastrophic situations and walking back out with the problem solved and an expression of mild inconvenience on her face. She walked into the medical bay under her own power. Dr. Kale Veyron looked up from his work on Specialist Leora and felt his secondary eyelids flutter, a Myra T tell for genuine surprise, the kind his people normally trained themselves to suppress. "Officer Ellison," he said carefully. "The report indicated you were caught in the initial pressure event." "Yeah," Mara said. She was pulling off her outer EVA glove with her teeth. "I was. The pressure differential in Section 9 during breach was recorded at." "Felt it," she confirmed. She peeled back her sleeve. Her forearm was a landscape of damage, dark bruising already spreading in ugly blues and purples beneath the surface, a long gash running from elbow to wrist still sluggishly weeping red. She looked at it with the casual interest of someone examining a mildly inconvenient smudge on their clothing. "Got a med seal for this?" "The bleeding's slowing down, but it's annoying." Kale crossed the bay in 4 long strides. His scanner was already running before he reached her. The readings came back, and he stopped walking. He looked at the scanner. He looked at Mara. He looked at the scanner again. "Officer Ellison," he said, very slowly, "you have a hairline fracture in your radius." She tilted her arm, as if trying to see it from a new angle. "That explains the grinding sensation. There is also bruising consistent with significant blunt force trauma across approximately 40% of your upper body. The bulkhead caught me on the way down when the pressure hit. I grabbed the anchor rail." She wiggled her uninjured fingers experimentally. "Good grip, actually. Held on until the emergency seal deployed." Kale stared at her. "You held on," he repeated. "To an anchor rail. During a hull breach event. With a fractured arm. Well, the alternative was getting sucked into the debris field." She paused, apparently giving this genuine consideration. "So. Yeah. Med seal?" He sealed the wound. He set her arm in a bone knit brace. He ran every diagnostic his panel could offer while Mara sat on the edge of the examination table and watched with polite patience, occasionally asking if Leora was going to be okay. She was. And whether the chef had made those Grainan protein balls for breakfast yet, he hadn't checked. The pain receptors in Mara's arm were firing. Kale could see the neurological activity on his screen, a cascade of signals that his own species literature described as incapacitating. Her heart rate was elevated. Her cortisol was up. Her body knew it was hurt. She was having a conversation about breakfast. "Does it not hurt?" he finally asked. It was not a clinical question. It escaped him the way breath escapes a punctured suit. Mara considered the question with the seriousness it apparently deserved. Yeah, she said. It hurts. Then. Hurts doesn't mean stop, she said. Not unkindly. Just as a statement of fact, the way one might explain that rain was wet or vacuum was cold. Back home, on Earth, if you stop every time something hurts, you stop a lot. We're from a place that tries to kill everything on it every day of the year. She smiled, and it was a genuine smile, the kind that involved the eyes. We figured out pretty early that pain is information. Not a command. Kale looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at his scanner readout. Then he quietly set the scanner down, because the numbers were no longer making him feel better. 3 weeks later, the Unbroken Meridian was running a joint evacuation exercise with a Serene relief vessel, and Mara Ellison fell off a loading scaffold. The scaffold was 4 meters high. The cargo bay floor was reinforced polymer plating. Kale heard the impact from the corridor, a sound like a bag of dense material dropped from height, and was through the bay doors in seconds, emergency kit in hand, fully prepared to find a crew member in critical condition. Mara was already sitting up. I'm good, she called out, to no one in particular. The Serene observers, there were 6 of them, delicate creatures with skin like pale silken bones that required careful environmental management even in ideal conditions, had gone completely still. 2 of them appeared to be in something approaching religious awe. One was quietly crying, though Kale suspected this was vicarious shock rather than grief. You fell, said the Serene mission coordinator, whose name was Pelly and who managed to make those 2 words convey an entire philosophical argument. Yep. Mara rolled her shoulder experimentally. Twisted my ankle on the way down, I think. Tried to tuck. She stood up. Tested her weight. Winced, a real wince, Kale noted, so the ankle was genuine, but remained upright. Could someone grab me an ice pack? Pelly turned to Kale with the expression of someone who needed a medical professional to validate what they were witnessing. Her bone density, Kale said, because he had spent 3 weeks thinking about this and had landed on it as the most efficient summary, is significantly higher than most species represented on this vessel. Her skeletal structure evolved in a high-gravity environment full of things that actively wanted to eat her ancestors. Her pain tolerance is... He paused, searching for a word that wasn't incomprehensible. Adaptive. She fell 4 meters, Pelly said. She falls 4 meters and walks, Kale agreed. A Thalvari falls 4 meters and I operate for 6 hours. He watched Mara accept an ice pack from a cargo crew member, press it against her ankle, and immediately turn to continue directing the loading schedule. I used to think humans were fragile because they seemed so soft. No external plating. No reinforced joints. No pressure tolerances to speak of. He watched her laugh at something the cargo loader said, weight shifted to her good foot, ice pack wedged under her arm so her hands were free to gesture. Now I think, he said slowly, that they are soft the way deep space cable is soft. You can bend it. You can twist it. You can stretch it further than seems reasonable. He clicked his scanner off. But you cannot break it. And it holds everything together. Pelly was quiet for a moment. On the cargo floor, Mara had abandoned the ice pack, it had served its purpose, apparently, and climbed back up the scaffold. She's going back up, Pelly said. She is. She just fell from that scaffold. She did. And she's going back up. Kale made the small sound his species used for yes, and I have stopped being surprised by this. She'll probably finish the loading schedule on time, he said. She usually does. That evening, Kale filed his weekly medical report. Under notable cases, he wrote 3 words that he had not expected to write when he took this posting. Human. Minor injuries. Then he sat for a moment, the cursor blinking. He added a line. Advised rest. Declined. Completed full duty rotation. Condition, functional. He stared at it. Deleted it. Rewrote it more clinically. Then he sat back in his chair and thought about a species that had climbed out of a world determined to kill them, carrying their pain like a tool rather than a wound, and had decided, collectively, culturally, in the marrow of their incomprehensible dense bones, that hurts and stop were two entirely different words. He saved the report. He was going to need a new diagnostic framework for humans. The old one, he was beginning to understand, had been built on a very wrong assumption. It had assumed, somewhere in its foundational logic, that beings with pain receptors would be limited by them. He was starting to suspect that for humans, pain was simply the universe's way of telling them where to focus. And Mara Ellison, apparently, had a lot of focus to go around.